It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from Burger King, Buffalo Wild Wings, KFC, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a burger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Take your plans out of the group chat and get long weekend ready in new Abercrombie. From day to night, pack new outfits for every part of your itinerary. Grabbing brunch? Throw on the A&F Mila dress. Then head to your dinner reservation in their new bubble hem mini dress. And yes, permission to overpack for pics with the girls. Abercrombie's best-selling Scarlet Squirt deserves a post in your feed. Your plans are worth it. Shop Abercrombie's new long weekend collection online or in store.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was getting frustrated by your forms. Now, Taxes is uploading your forms with a snap, and a TurboTax expert will do your taxes for you. One who's backed by the latest tech, which cross-checks millions of data points for absolute accuracy, all of which makes it easy for you to get the most money back, guaranteed. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
It's always a good time to celebrate your team. With designs for every occasion, Starbucks cards are the perfect thank you for employees and clients alike. Did you know that you can easily order gift cards in bulk directly from Starbucks at StarbucksCardB2B.com? Give your team the recognition they deserve with a gift they're sure to use. They're thoughtful gifts for special occasions, events, or just because. With digital, physical, and customizable card options, gifting is made easy through StarbucksCardB2B.com.
Hello and welcome to Islanders Anxiety from Lighthouse Hockey and the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Dan Saracini. Joining me on this Sunday evening via Zencaster is my friend Michael Leboff. And Mike, the Islanders simply refuse to go away. They have won a bunch of games this week. They're right back in the thick of the playoff race. They have, again, another huge game against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Monday night, the night most people are probably listening to this. And it's just remarkable how this season has been unfolding. It's been exhausting. I'm tired. Sometimes I wish it would just be over already, but they've gone from, I don't know how these guys can do this again, to being, oh my God, they're still alive, to being absolutely dead in the water, to now being within 2 points of a playoff spot. It's, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this season. Like it's been both exhausting and frustrating and maddening, but it's not exciting right now. This is way better than just playing out the string, right? I mean, there's a playoff spot on the line, and it's kind of crazy that it is.
Yeah, it is, and you can't kill this team. It's so funny that the Islanders. How many people have tried to kill the Islanders this season? Yeah. And you lump them into groups. The hockey media, the Islander fans, other teams' fans. The team, the general manager by trading Brock Nelson. Everyone's tried to kill this team, and we always talk about how frustrating it can be to hear their kind of like canned cliche answers after games and such. But these guys really do believe in themselves and in their ability to be, their favorite word is the R word, resilient.
Right.
They are certainly resilient. But what is right now so funny to me is the Islanders they turned into a feel good story like almost overnight, right? Like they turned into the scrappy underdog, traded away one of its best players at the trade deadline. Matt Barzal's hurt. They've been dealing with a maelstrom of injuries all season long, and they're still scrapping their way through. They've got the junkyard dog defense that we talked about.
Right.
Like Adam Boquist and Scott Perunovich are still in the Islanders' orbit. Weirdly, Dennis Cholowski is a New Jersey Devil. But like this is an absolute ragtag group. They are the regiment that has just been waiting for reinforcements, and the general's just like, I don't know what to tell you. You just got to hold the line until the very end, until you're overrun. And they are doing just that. And they turned into this feel good story. And there's two things I want to talk about. One is nobody's talking about them like a feel good story. They are once again talked about as like, do we have to go through this again with the Islanders? Can't they just die and let the Canadians or or the Blue Jackets or Red Wings or someone else take that playoff spot? We're sick of seeing it. Fine. But the other thing that nobody mentions here, when they talk about the Islanders and the playoff race, when they talk, they're doing it again, but nobody says that the Islanders they're doing it again in the same exact way that they did it last season. Draw a line through the Nelson trade, of course, but you remember that the Islanders had lost 6 in a row after that losing streak, after the winning streak, and they had 13 games left after they lost to Detroit, and what was the season was over that game. You remember that game? They lost 6-3, and they just were it was just ugly.
Right.
Then they beat Winnipeg, and they had the back-to-back with New Jersey right after that Winnipeg game, and they just no-showed against the Devils. I think it might have been Vitek Vanacek who no, it wasn't. It was Capo Kakinen who pitched a shutout against them, I think. And that was it. Like the season was over once again, and everyone wrote them off, and then they went down the stretch and won 8 of 10 or whatever it was. It was really an impressive way to close out the season to make a 3% chance of making the playoffs, and turn it good, right?
Right.
But they're doing it again. Like this team was dead in the water, and they were Nelson's gone. Duclair's a shell of himself. Barzal is on the sidelines. Romanov was dealing with an injury. They've had Mike Riley missing for almost the entire season. Adam Pellick's missed 20 plus games at least.
Right. Semyon Varlamov is in the negative zone. We have no idea where he is.
We still are trying to find Semyon Varlamov.
Right.
Like Marcus Hogberg is playing big games down the stretch. It's outrageous that it's happening again. And it's a very compelling story. It's a very compelling story that this team of just through brute will, and a couple guys stepping up every night is sticking around. And it's the type of story that sports are supposed to be all about. But that story is so far down the list of the stories that people want to actually cover, that it's just not getting talked about. They're just like a gnat, a nuisance, a cockroach that just won't die, rather than, have you seen the Islanders lineup? Like they're winning games against the Florida Panthers, must win games against the Florida Panthers. They're getting points against Connor McDavid. Hudson Fasching was playing against Connor McDavid, and so is Mark Gatcomb. I don't know what a Mark Gatcomb is, but he's wearing number 16 for the Islanders. They've got Tony DeAngelo on their team. There's none of that. The Islanders are getting none of that. They're just once again, for the third straight season, the team that nobody wants to make the playoffs in this playoff race. And that makes me love them and root for them even harder.
This has to be, we got a lot to cover in this episode, but I was thinking about this while watching the Flames game, actually just before the Flames game started. You and I have watched a lot of different Islanders teams. Our listeners have watched probably even more than us. This has to be the most anonymous Islanders team to be this close to the playoffs, right? Like we've
Yep.
seen it, teams with total nobodies. No disrespect to those guys, but your Mike Halmos and Mike Eagledens and Johan Sundströms, guys like that. Those teams are used to, but those guys were like 25 points out of the playoffs. Like they weren't going anywhere. These guys are 2 points out of a playoff spot. And like you just said, Hudson Fasching and Mark Gatcomb and Kyle McLean are playing huge minutes for this team and actually had pretty good games lately. And I'm just like, how is this happening right now? It's insane. Who are these guys?
That's the point. And and who are these guys? Nobody is picking up on that. Like nobody's like talking about the leap that Simon Holmstrom's taking, or the fact that Kyle Palmieri is now on the first line for this team, despite not having that. Maybe the extension's in the drawer, but who knows, right? Like they kept him. They're sticking around. Bo Horvat put the team on his back for a little while there.
This team's number one offensive unit right now is Bo Horvat and Simon Holmstrom.
Right.
That's absurd.
Yes. Yeah. It's and it's like and think about the overtimes, right? We've seen 2 overtime games. Usually you're putting out your two best forwards and your best defenseman for the first shift of overtime.
Right.
Unless you're trying one of those, face off, get off kind of things, right? The Islanders have decided that those 3 players are Bo Horvat, Tony DeAngelo, and Noah Dobson. And honestly, I'm like, you're probably right.
Right.
Like those are probably your 3 most dangerous players in that situation in crunch time at the moment. And but once again, you can't go anywhere else besides the Islander universe, the Islander country, to like find people, try to sort through that, because there were 2 games we got to talk about this week, or 3, I can't remember. The Penguins game felt like it was months ago. I mean, that game could have been played in November, and it doesn't matter. But 3 games to talk about this weekend. You're sorting through like, how the hell did they win that game or get a point out of that game? They've now won 3 in a row. They've got a 5-game point streak, 2 points back of a playoff spot going into this game on Monday. And you're left to your own devices, really, to sort through, did I just watch Mark Gatcomb score a huge goal for the Islanders again? And why is, if Mark Gatcomb was from, Thunder Bay, Ontario, and played for the Toronto Maple Leafs, or he was from somewhere in Medicine Hat, Alberta, or something, and played for the Oilers, yeah, right, or Trois-Rivières, played for the Canadiens, or hell, if he was from Quincy, Mass, and played for the Bruins, or if he was just a Ranger of any kind, like this is a completely blown out of proportion story. But for us, like, Mark Gatcomb's going to show up. He's going to play against the Canucks on Wednesday, God willing. And the Canucks media is going to parachute in and be like, what the hell's a Gatcomb? Why haven't I heard of this number 16? Who's wearing 16? Wasn't someone else wearing 16 like a couple weeks ago? And you got to be like, yeah, no, that's Mark Gatcomb. He's been here for a long time, and it's actually a great story. Do you have time for it? Nah, don't. Yeah. I got to talk about Elias Pettersson for the next, 3 weeks. So, it's just nobody has time to kind of appreciate the bizarreness of this season. And I think it was Elliot Friedman a couple weeks ago when the Islanders had that weird incident with Jacob Skarek opening up the door, and what's his face, Matthew Poitras got hit into the open gate and got hurt, and he's like, yeah, something crazy happens in every Islander game when you turn it on. And that was after the Nashville game, and then that night the Islanders watched the New York Rangers score a header goal off of them, and it hasn't gotten more normal since then. No. But everyone's just kind of left them by the wayside as the also ran in this race. They're just the team that nobody wants to even give time to, which is really a shame, because as Patrick Waugh said before the Pittsburgh game, maybe he was like, it's been a weird season in his accent. And if Patrick Waugh was the head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, and he said, oh, it's been a weird season, that would be 6 hours of drive time radio talking about the weird season. But nobody else is here to kind of parse through the bizarreness of it, and except for Islander fans, and we're here to do that. And it's what the craziest part of this season is that they're still alive, and they have turned into they're a feel good story now. Like this, we talked about. Oh man, I really don't want to hate these guys for the first 45 games of the season. Like, I'm starting to really hate Casey Zizekas. I don't want to see Ryan Pulock anymore. It's getting so frustrating because we love these guys and they're making us hate them. But now they're a feel good story. I'm like, I will die for Casey Zizekas right now.
I was thinking about this too. I think it was against the Montreal game, but I was like, I think the one player on this roster that I haven't spent at least a couple of weeks mad at this season was Anthony Duclair, or is Anthony Duclair, I should say, because A, he's new, and B, he's been hurt. Like, you can't, is he hampered? Yes, 100%. Is he a shell of himself out there? Yes, kind of. But this isn't the Duclair that we signed up for. But like, you can't really get all that mad at him because he's been hurt this whole time. And again, he's a new guy. I'm pretty sure everybody else on this roster I've been really angry at least one point this season. And it's gotten to the point now where I just kind of have to sit back and be like, I just don't understand. Like, I shouldn't say that. I keep saying I don't get it. It's crazy. I don't understand. But we're going to go through all this in a minute. But I do kind of get where they're coming from. And I think I do understand how these wins are happening. So we're going to go through all three games. We'll talk about the next games coming up, obviously the huge game against the Blue Jackets. Then we'll talk about the playoff races and stuff. And I want to get back to what you've been talking about too, about how nobody seems to know what's going on. And this happened in a very specific case this week. So I do want to examine that again. Real quick though, reminder that we are on Patreon at patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety. Membership gets you ad-free episodes, bonus podcasts, written posts. And this week you get all three of those things. So sign up today, patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety. The only way to get all that stuff is to sign up for our country club tier. So do that today, patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety. Okay. I want to start with the Penguins game, and then we'll take the Canadiens and Flames games sorted together. It does feel like this game happened 6 months ago. The Islanders won 4-2. It was a stirring comeback win. I don't care where you are on the whole sort of like, tank for a better pick scenario or just make the playoffs scenario. But in any event, no matter who you are, I guarantee that you enjoy beating the Penguins. And a comeback win against the Penguins is even better. They were down 2-0 after the first period because a player named Jono Koponen, first ever NHL goal. Shout out to the indispensable Eric Hornick, who put in the skinny that Koponen was the 15th player in Penguins history to score his first ever goal against the New York Islanders, which is both completely understandable and absolutely astonishing. Did you see that? 15th player to do that. That is crazy. Come on. So it's not just us. It's not just like, oh, of course it's this guy. Like, this is a real thing. 15 guys have done this. Feels like 15 in the last year, but still, like, that's pretty wild, I guess.
That's what I thought you were going to say, like 15th this season.
No, 15 all time since 1972, I guess. But still. Anyway, there wasn't much going on either way. And Crosby sort of gets a chip in. Raquel's in front. It's 2-0. They challenge it. They lost. Patrick Wahl loves to challenge everything nowadays. They lost it, whatever. They killed the penalty. No goals in the second. They spent a lot of time chasing the Penguins. Didn't play particularly well in this game. But then the third period happens, and the entire game flips. Palmieri scores on a breakaway. First, he kind of hit the post, then the puck bounced off of Jari's back and in. Makes it 2-1. Horvat's cutting in front. The rebound goes to Noah Dobson, who's crashing the net like a psycho. Love this version of Noah Dobson. Ties the game with kind of a backhander. Pierre Engvall, again, awakens somehow after we spent the last episode shitting on this guy. He must have heard us. Gets in space, shoots it short side, makes it 3-2. PPG Paints Arena is completely deflated at this point. They keep the pressure going. They get a good PK, and then Holmstrom hits the empty net. Sorokin made 19 saves. He was very good when they needed to, even those 2 goals really weren't on him. Jari, LOL with this guy. I just love. I know it's like, it almost feels like he's a piñata at this point, but these wins are so funny, especially that Palmieri goal that went off his back, basically. And after that shaky kind of start, the Islanders ended up out shooting the Penguins 39-22. Didn't really feel like it, but that put them 3 points out of 8th place. And you were like, wow, that's pretty. I mean, this comes after the Panthers win the game that they won. So this was a feel-good win, maybe one of the few feel-good wins of this, like true feel-good wins of this season. And a lot of it had to do with obviously the opponent and the venue. But anytime they could put that's sort of almost like a vintage, Trotzian Islanders performance. And it goes to show that, like we've said right off the top, this team doesn't want to go away. And I think the reason they're still here is that their ethos and their mindset seems to be they're going to work harder, not smarter. And I'll get to the reason for that in a minute, but they work hard, man. They're out there, they're trying. It's not an effort thing with them. It's just a matter of kind of getting, the spots and getting the goals. And this was a good example of like, they put the effort in, they stuck with it. Yeah, they were down 2-0, but they didn't let it go further than that, and ended up getting rewarded with a pretty darn good third period and 2 huge points. This was a fun one. Like, I mean, again, the fact that it's a Penguin. So, I mean, what'd you make of this one? If it's feels like it was 10 years ago, but yeah, this was good. I mean, it started in the worst possible way with a guy scoring his first ever goal against them, and then ended up being a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it was. I pulled the plug on the season right after that Crosby goal, and then there was the challenge and the whole situation, and I was just like, that's it sucks that the Penguins are going to end the season, end our season for good, but there's just no coming back from it. And I talked all last week about the kind of emotional exhaustion of unloading the baggage from the season in that Panthers game, and then just lumping it right back on because they won that game. And I did it again, basically, in this game, right? Like, it's just
same way too. Third period,
same exactly. And I want to say I went as far this time as I did for that Panthers game, but it was pretty damn close. And that Palmieri goal to me. So when the Islanders were up 2-0 in a game going into the third period, I live in just absolute dread about that really quick strike first goal.
Right.
Because then you're just like, oh, the second one's coming. And it felt good to watch the Islanders get that goal for once.
Right.
And they got a bounce for sure in that, but we're owed a lot more than just that one for this season.
Yeah.
I mean, especially since this game was a goal where, like you said, that guy Kolpanen tip, and then Crosby on a half volley score. So, I mean, it was nice to get a good bounce. Yeah, we definitely owe Pierre Engvall an apology for the way he's been going lately.
Well, it's not like too crazy now.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's funny that like this guy's just I think it was more this game he was really good, but then he was really good in the Canadiens game, and it's simple. It's too simple to say, why can't you just do that every night? Because the best players in the world are the best players in the world because they can do it like 97% of the time. So it's like, can you just do this 60% of the time?
Right.
And you're going to score 25 goals and you're going to be great. And he looks engaged. He looks happy. Like, he scores and people are celebrating. He's getting hit. He's hitting people. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he's just the type of guy who's like, I don't want to like exert myself in November and December because I want to be in good shape in March and April. And that way I look really good on the beach when the season ends. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it works. I sent you the picture. I got a Pierre Engvall jersey before this season because I found someone who was selling a Josh Bailey and Pierre Engvall jersey on eBay. And I was like, hey, I'll take the Bailey jersey, but if you throw can we do a 2-for-1 for a certain price on the Engvall jersey too? And I got it. And, so I wore it with pride for that game. But yeah, I mean, it was, and you said Dobson was really good. I don't think he had the greatest game against the Flames, but he did have some really good moments in the Penguins game. He was pretty good against the Canadiens for the most part. But it's I mean, that was a rousing victory. The out of town scoreboard, I believe, for this game was really. Oh yes, because this was the night where the Penguins and Rangers both scored really early. So effectively, in like the live standings, the Islanders are like 8 points back of the playoffs because they were down a goal and the Rangers were up a goal, and then the Rangers proceeded to just completely shut down shop. The Flames held them to 13 shots on goal for the game, and the Rangers lost 2-1, and the Islanders, of course, came back. And then the rest of the out-of-town scoreboard, sans, I think Montreal ended up getting a win, looked really good. So it was just like it was a fun night to go to sleep as an Islander fan. You beat the Penguins. They continue to be a thorn in the side of the kind of the second, the retirement era Crosby Penguins. Tristan Jarry was really good until he wasn't in this game too, which was, like you said, it's just hilarious. I still feel, and I have conversations about this a lot, that I still feel the Islanders owe the Penguins more than they've gotten over them lately, which might sound harsh because the Islanders have swept them and then beat them in another first round series, and then been kind of dummying them in the regular season for the most part under in like the Trotz Lambert wire. But I still feel aggrieved for the way that we were treated during Crosby's prime. So
sure.
Yes, this isn't over yet. We still have more to give back to them, but it was a great night. This was a win that I feel like it felt like everybody, like the team was like, oh, we're in this again. We're right back in it. That's all it took for the Islanders to get back in the race was a win, an overtime loss, and another win. And that just shows you how crazy the playoff race has been.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, the out-of-tournament scoreboard was very kind to them that night. And a lot of this has to do with those teams rather than just what the Islanders are doing. But picking up wins is key to that. And this was a huge one. And, the Engvall thing, at first I laughed because, we 2 days earlier had been shitting on him. And here he is. He had a great game, scored a huge goal. And, I thought the same thing you did. Like, I was like, okay, so they're close to the playoffs now. They can, they can go on a run here. But, like, if your team's playoff race hinges upon Pierre Engvall having a good game, I think you might be in trouble. Like, it's, Patrick Waugh's got to be like, well, if Engvall has a great game out there, we might be in good shape. Or if Fasching has a good game, we might be in good shape. Jared Bednar is not sitting around being like, I just hope Nathan MacKinnon has a good game. Like, he knows what kind of game Nathan MacKinnon's going to give him. It's going to be a great game because he's Nathan MacKinnon. Like you said, I'm not asking Pierre Engvall to be Nathan MacKinnon, but, like, if you could be a little bit closer to him, 60% would be great, as opposed to, like, the 10% where you're good and the 90% where you're completely invisible, which is the way it is now. But credit to what's due. He got into space and he found that short side goal. And, it's just Jarry, man. It's just funny to me that this guy is on a contract that is legitimately one of the worst contracts in the league, but we never hear about it because the guy who signed it is everybody's best friend and everybody loves him and they all just want to be pals with him. And God forbid anybody brings up, that was a stupid fucking contract you signed this man to, Kyle. And now, there's a market. They're trying to create a market for Jarry, and they're trying to find takers. Who's going to want this guy? Who's got 4 years left on this deal? Nobody's going to want this guy. You screwed up. And, like, every time, Lamoriello hands out a contract that's $1 more than anybody thinks, oh my God, Lou's got to throw this guy overboard. He's 80 years old. Get him out of here. Meanwhile, Dubas just hands out two of the worst contracts ever in Jarry and Graves. They're both still there. Neither of them is going anywhere. Or maybe they will. Somebody will try to bail him out But
he's got a really tough job to do, right? Like, he's got to thread the needle. And also, have you seen that they've got 24 draft picks over the next 3 drafts, the most of the league? Yeah. And then you look at him like, only 3 of them are first round picks. So, but he's got his PR wing is still doing great work by just completely ignoring the fact that he signed Jarry and it's just
can you believe that there are people still complaining about Ilya Sorokin's contract while Tristan Jarry goes completely unmolested at all at this point? Really? Come on. Seriously? Anyway. All right. That's enough of that game. So moving on. Okay. So the Islanders won 2 in a row, two back-to-back third period comebacks. I mean, they can't do that again, right? Well, they didn't, but they won against Montreal in overtime. They would lose to Calgary in overtime a couple of nights later. And I'm kind of lumping these games together because I feel like they have a lot of similar DNA, not only just because against their Canadian teams in sick uniforms, and they make a great, contrast with the Islanders. They're both very good looking games, but in both, it became clear to me that this entire little stretch here that's gotten the Islanders this close to the playoffs, they really haven't changed anything about themselves. Like, they're still playing the same way they've been playing all season long. They're just getting bounces now. Whereas, especially from October through December, they got not one bounce at all. There's not 1 ounce of luck. Every open shot went into the goalie's chest. Every dumb bounce went into their net. And Patrick Waugh kept saying, we're playing good. We're just, we're not getting the results. We're not getting the bounces. And it was like, no, are you really playing that good? Because I don't really think you are. But you're definitely not getting the bounces. That part is true. And in this case, they started out hot. Duclair gets a power play goal. Then Joshua Watt ties the game very quickly afterwards. Simon Holmstrom scores on the power play, which is kind of wild. Beautiful, laser of a shot right from the dots, makes it 2-1. Third period, Bo Horvat goes around Mike Matheson, where I found my friend Scott Matla, who covers the Habs, calls him Tragic Mike, which I thought was kind of funny. And it leaks through Sam Montembeault, who for once didn't look like Ken Dryden against the Islanders, which I thought was pretty fun. And it's 3-1, and you're like, oh, these guys got this. But then you remember, no, it's the Islanders. They don't got anything. And Patrick Laine scores through chaos, makes it 3-2. Again, it's challenged. It's lost. PK is killed. Fine, whatever. Then Brendan Gallagher gets a steal at the blue line. I think it was Mike Riley.
Pajot. Pajot just passed it to him. Yeah.
He just fell down, right? Is that?
Oh, Riley fell down.
Riley fell down. Yeah.
Pajot. It was Pajot had the puck at the blue line and passed it right to Gallagher. Then Riley fell down.
And Riley fell down.
Yeah. Talking about bounces. Yeah.
Yeah. Roofs it over Sorokin, ties the game at 3. And then in overtime, it was the Bo Horvat show. Takes it coast to coast, scores in overtime, gives the Are You Not Entertained salute to UBS Arena. Sorokin was great, 38 saves. Montembeault, again, a little shaky. For him, that's enormous because every time he plays the Islanders, it's like he's a brick wall all of a sudden. But the shots were 41-25 in favor of Montreal. It's really hard to say that the Islanders played really well in this game, although the 2 points were enormous. But my big takeaway from this game was exactly what you were talking about a few minutes ago. And that is that in reading about the game, for us, this was a huge 2 points, and it put the Islanders in the thick of the playoff race. To the hockey media at large, particularly the Canadian-based hockey media at Sportsnet, at TSN, this game did not end in a Canadiens loss. This was a huge point, and it's as if the Islanders, I don't even think they mentioned who the opponent was in this game. It was a huge 2 points. It was a great goal by Gallagher, who had lost his mother earlier this week. Our condolences to him. Obviously, that's a great story. But it's just funny to me that they're so focused on the Canadiens holding on to this last playoff spot because they want that team in the playoffs so badly. And I get it, that they kind of neglected that there's another team that has risen from the ashes here to put themselves into playoff contention. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Could we credit the Islanders at least a little bit for winning that game? I know, you guys don't normally do that sort of thing, but it was a little bit disconcerting. And I was like, really? All right, well, I guess I'll just have to be happy with how it turned out. What do you think of this one? This, again, they didn't play well, but getting 2 points is what they needed to do. And they stuck with it. And then once again, just worked as hard as they could to get those 2 points.
This game felt really familiar. And it's not just this season. This really felt like an Islanders big game.
Yeah.
For your whole life. It reminded me a little bit of going back to 2007 when they played when they had to win those 4 games in a row,
right?
To get in. They played a couple pretty crazy games. Like I think one against the Leafs, that was particularly nuts. Even obviously the one against the Devils was insane because of the blown lead and then the Doobie poke check. But then last year, when they played the Canadiens, our friend Matt Strauss texted me saying he was afraid of seeing Sam Bolduc just show up because of the game they played against the Canadiens in that must-win spot where he almost single-handedly eliminated the Islanders, even though he played for the Islanders. They had a couple they had that crazy game against the Rangers last year where they went up 3-0, and then the Rangers just poured it on, and the Islanders just were able to kind of hold off the onslaught. So it's every time the Islanders, this version especially of the Islanders, they have these big games, you're going to be a very different person when the final horn sounds than you were when the game starts. You sit down, you turn on the broadcast, there's Butch and Brendan welcoming you to the show, and you need to think to yourself, 3 hours from now, I'm going to be a completely different person because of what I'm about to be put through. And you got put through a lot in this Canadiens game. A lot. The Islanders were, like you said, they weren't the better team. The Canadiens were the better team. Basically start to finish, the Islanders had some good moments. That power play that they scored on was the best power play the Islanders have had probably since Mark Streit. I mean, just snapped. The Islanders never snap it around. They just never snap it around. They snapped this puck around, and Simon Holmstrom is starting to get a little bit of that Brock Nelson tendency in him when you see him getting, coming in on the rush or getting set up like on a one-timer like he was in this goal or something, and you're like, oh, that's going in. Like he just has that kind of aura about him, which is nice. And then from that point on, it was just, it was just craziness unfolded. It just the game completely unfurled. That Laine goal to go down to cut the lead to 3-2. Not only was it crazy, the Islanders had so many different chances to clear it, as of course, and they just kept shooting the puck like right up the middle, but it would just land right on someone's stick. And that was goaltender, like the goaltender was interfered with on that goal. Like a couple different times. Yuri Slafkovsky at one point was in the net, like fixing the net, trying to keep it on its moorings. And then got out, then he got back in. So like that was an insane,
right? The whole sequence,
kind of, exactly. It was just a very weird calamity of events. And so I don't blame Patrick Waugh for challenging it, especially with the way that the goaltender interference gods have looked at the Islanders this season, where it's just like they're the only team in the league that doesn't have this clear, is it in the blue, is it in the white thing? Because we saw it with the Kraken game, we saw it with the Kings game twice. It's just not, the Islanders have a different rule book. So I almost, and he's Patrick Waugh, right? Like I think if Patrick Waugh sees that replay, he's like, I would fucking kill Yuri Slafkovsky if I had my big Avalanche pads and neck guard on. I would be absolutely smoking this guy. But by the way that the game has been called for all other teams in the league this season, I knew it was a long shot, and you're just like, you're gonna absolutely give them another goal here. But credit to the Islanders for killing that penalty off. Then it was just unfortunate because as the broadcast kept reminding us when Pajot turned that puck over, it's if you had come to me before that the Islanders gained the zone there and said, hey, who do you want, like who do you want to have the whose stick do you want to have the puck on to make you feel safest that he's not going to turn the puck over in a big spot, I think I wouldn't be alone in saying probably JG Pajot. It's like either Pajot or Horvat, I guess, at this point. And so it was an unfortunate play, and but yeah, they held on, and it's just a lot of crazy stuff happening. Like Adam Pelech was everywhere in good and bad ways in this game, and also in the Flames game. I like when Adam Pelech is like an aggressive kind of son of a bitch on the ice. I think that's when he's at his best, when he's jumping pucks in the neutral zone and stuff like that. He's got a good nose for that kind of stuff, but at the same time, he could scare the shit out of you because you look up and you're like, who the hell is like jamming at the goalie's pads there? The puck is way already gone back up the ice, and he's still jamming. I feel like that's Adam Pelech. I think he also got hurt in this game. He left the game for a little bit with holding his shoulder, and then he came back. So I thought the season was over there. I mean, every kind of we say it a lot, but this was a microcosm game, right? It was just an absolute microcosm game.
Very drama-filled game, and this was, speaking of drama, this was the night of the opening night of my daughter's school musical. She was doing 42nd Street, and so I missed this game, and I was kind of following along, at intermission, and I noticed that it was 8:30, and they were only in the first intermission, and I texted you, I'm like, I was like, what is this, the longest first period of the game? How is this game not half over by now? And it was pretty wild when I came back. I just came back just in time to watch Horvat score that. And so there was a lot going on.
That game had everything, like a little bit of controversy, some physical play. The Islanders, of course, acknowledged the Montreal Canadiens, as the Canadiens and Islanders always do for one another, and which is always fun. And that's why we call it the Alliance. There is something nice about this being the Canadiens that we're fighting for a playoff spot with, because I really have no ill will towards this team. It's very strange, right? And so it's like right now, Canadiens, Rangers, Islanders, Blue Jackets on the fringe. Of course, if Columbus wins tomorrow, they're right back in it. But
Yeah.
it's there's something kind of comforting knowing that it's not like the Penguins or a team like that, or even like the Flyers or Sabres or something where it's like the Canadians get it. It's a little, it'll still sting, but not as much. But it was just a really kind of heart-stopping game, and that, like you said, and you said it right, like right after the game, I was expecting to hear huge win for the Islanders, big point for the Canadians, crazy game, but instead it was just, oh my God, these Habs, Marty St. Louis has these guys playing like it's crazy. Like they beat, who'd they beat? The Islanders. What are they? 7-8 points out. Like their season's over, so it doesn't matter. Like, but these are the type of teams you have to beat because they've got nothing to play for. But it took a really long time to hear someone say that was pretty huge performance the Islanders to get 2 points out of a game where they didn't play particularly well to stay alive, and they did just that. So
the Habs, I think, are at the point where even if they miss the playoffs, they're still going to get a lot of mileage out of like, wow, they came so close to making the playoffs, and they're going to have to kind of figure it out.
Pierre LeBrun already rumbled that the season's a rousing success. No matter what.
Exactly. That's right, because that's his job basically. And again, I have no ill will towards this edition of the Canadians either. But much like we just talked about with the Islanders, this is not the normal roster of a Montreal Canadiens team you kind of expect. Like they have, Suzuki's really good, obviously Gallagher's really good, but it's like, really? These are the Montreal Canadiens? Oh, Hudson, sorry. He's kind of come on, obviously, a lot. And Slavkovsky, every time he scores a goal, everybody's like, it's all of a sudden a referendum. Like, you see, they should have taken him first overall. They were right. And then every time he goes like 3 weeks without a point, nobody says anything. So it's kind of he seems like a bit of a divisive figure. But, it's funny to me that this is the Montreal Canadiens. Like, we're a long way from Guy Lafleur. We're a long way from Guy Carbonneau. Like we're going a long way from all these guys that, not long ago. We're a long way from PK Subban. Like didn't seem that long ago. You guys had superstars at every position, at least one in every position. Carey Price too, but that's not this team anymore. So yeah, it was two very weird additions of these two historic teams going at it, and the one that won you would never know based on the the coverage of it. But it was a pretty wild game, and again, it feels like whenever they do play the Canadians, it feels like a lot of people are kind of like turning their, not so much the fans, because I think the fans are cool with each other, but it seems like a lot of people kind of turning their, holding their nose just to kind of watch the Islanders play, and then just ignoring them once the game is over, win or lose. So, but then, so that was Thursday night, and then Saturday afternoon, second straight Canadian club comes into UBS Arena. This time it's the Calgary Flames, the Islanders' expansion cousins. The one-time residents of Atlanta are here. And this was, it went differently. This is sort of like the inverse of the Canadiens game a little bit, but also they had a lot of similar connective tissue. So Butch and Brendan and Shannon are talking about how great it is that Matt Coronado of Green Lawn or wherever he's from, longtime Islanders fan, finally gets to play against the Islanders at UBS Arena. And while they're saying that, this son of a bitch scores and makes it 1-0 Flames 30 seconds in the game. And you're like, wait, what? Come on. Like, even Shannon joked later, like she was talking to her mom and they both missed the goal because they looked, oh my God, what happened? And you thought, oh, come on, really? But the Islanders got better over time. Horvat scored into essentially an open net behind Dan Vladar, who was starting for the Flames. This was a big hog, by the way. Sorokin actually got the night off. Big hog is in net. And this goal to me, I want to stop here real quick because this goal to me is sort of a microcosm of the Islanders season where Horvat is standing at the net. He kind of gets lost a little bit. He takes a hit, kind of hangs back a little bit, finds himself in space, gets a puck, and scores into an open net. And on one hand, you're like, wow, that's a pretty good play, smart play by a smart player. On the other hand, for him to get the puck, it took a goofy, like, spin around, fling at the net, hope play by Tony DeAngelo, and then a random, which also happened because of a random, weird, wonky duck pass by Simon Holmstrom. So it was these two very odd, the exact opposite of on the tape passes somehow end up on Bo Horvat's stick, and he ends up scoring a goal. And that's sort of the way the Islanders do offense. They don't really do anything smoothly. Even the next goal, Mark Gatcomb scoring on a wrister after he comes. It was like a 3-on-2, and it was just like a weird play that ended up with him on a 3-on-2 and scoring. And it's like who is Mark Gatcomb? But I don't know. They started bad, but it evened out after a while. And this to me was just like, these guys work harder. They don't work smarter. You mentioned it before. They're holding a lead against the Canadians. They're on the power play. They just cannot clear the puck. They just absolutely refuse to get a clear to make life easier for them. And this is the exact same kind of thing. They give up a goal 30 seconds in. They got a bunch of wonky passes, somehow ends up, in their favor scoring a goal. Then there's something happens as a 3-on-2 where they end up scoring. There's got to be an easier way to do this, but they refuse to do it that way. They only want to do it the hardest way possible. And here they are, 2 points out of the playoffs. So just going to stop at this first period here. Like, what did you think of this from, again, a lot of drama, the Coronado goal, the Horvat goal, and then the Gatcomb goal is already like a game's worth of drama. And it's only been one period.
Yeah. Mark Gatcomb is the type of name too that you just assume plays for the Calgary Flames. Now that I think about it,
yes,
like you kind of have an eye on the Flames because they're in the NHL, but at the same time, the Islanders and Flames are probably as inconsequential to one another in their in of any two teams in the NHL.
Remember when they had like Michael Granlund, Mikhail, like they had three guys all with the same exact initials, and they were all from like either Sweden, Finland, or Russia. And it was like, how are all these guys different guys? Like, why are they all on the same team?
Yeah, but I'm sure they think the same thing about us. Like we show up,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you show up and you're like, Valtteri Filppula's on the
Kyle
Islanders.
McLean.
Yeah,
Kyle his dad is a coach. I
and then it's and what's the Gatcomb? But this game when there's the Coronado goal. First of all, it's really strange because these things happen all the time in the NHL. Guys playing in their hometown in front of their family, and you go into it thinking, oh, that wouldn't it be nice if they scored? Oh, that would be pretty crazy if they scored, but they never do. Right. Unless it's the Islanders, like unless it's coming, they're playing against the Islanders in that game, and it not only do they do it on the first shift of the game while their parents are being interviewed, of course, and then he scores again. He almost had a hat trick. He hit the post, and so that's just how it goes, right? We've been waiting so long for an Islander fan to play for the Islanders, and instead we just get a bunch of Long Island guys that whenever they play against the Islanders, they just bury them, and so yeah, that goal kind of took the wind out of my sails right away. But then, yeah, as you said, the Islanders played a really good rest of the first. The second was bad, really bad.
Yeah, bad. Yeah. Terrible.
That was, that was we've said so often early on the season that like the Islanders would do something good, and it could have been something as simple as like scored a goal first in a game, and then they just decide like, oh, that's enough. Like our job's done for the night. Right. It felt like those Islanders were back for this game for a little bit there because they weren't good. And Hogberg have ended up not having a great game, but he did keep them in it through the second, which was, as we said, like the Islanders just completely no-showed in that period, like almost inexplicably. And the Horvat goal, that was a good bounce that the Islanders got right to Horvat's stick. But as you said, like here's how I would look at it. The Islanders don't score goals on purpose. Like you can't just and when's the last time the Islanders have scored a goal on purpose? Like where you drew up a play and you're like, that's how that's the Islanders recipe for success. Yeah. Like Nathan McKinnon gets the puck and drives it down the middle. He takes two guys with him. There's Marty Necas, and he finds Cale Makar as like the late guy, right? Connor McDavid finds Leon Draisaitl at a bad angle before the goalie can react to it. Ovechkin from his office, Stamkos from his office, Kucherov like on a breakaway, going. Rangers throw a puck off of a kneecap and it flutters over the goalie's head. Like you can when you think about teams, you can kind of draw up the way they score goals, or at least are trying to for the most part. With the Islanders, it's just there is none because there can't be any. There's just this is a team full of not very good players.
Yeah.
Right? Like once again, if you look at this roster, we said it. How is this team still alive in the playoff race?
If they still had Nelson and Barzal and Varlamov, they're still a team of not very good players.
Right. It wouldn't. I think that's been the most frustrating part of the way that their feel good story has been kind of not picked up on, is that everyone is talking about them as if those guys are still having an impact on the team.
Right. Yeah. They don't know they're not there.
Yeah, they don't know they're not there. When they show up, they're like, "Oh, Barcelo's out."
Right.
Yeah, he his first shot block of the season broke his goddamn kneecap. But yeah, you look at the Islanders lines for the games against Calgary and Montreal. The top 6 is Holmstrom, Horvat, Palmieri. That line probably grades out to a second line.
Yeah.
Lee, Pajot, Duclair, like a good second line. And then you get Lee, Pajot, Duclair. That line probably grades out as a decent third line. And then the bottom 6, you have Cizikas, Engvall, Fasching, Siplikov, McLean, and Gakkom. I don't think you can call one a third line and one a fourth line because it really just depends on the night. But
They're
those
both
are
fifth lines.
Right.
They're both like practice lines.
Those are six players. And if you were to take the teams that make the playoffs eventually, and you were to list those 6 players out, I think you'd say maybe 2 of them would make 4 out of like the 16 teams starting lineups. I think Siplikov probably would make a bunch because he's
Cizikas.
And
I know he's had a bad
right.
season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'd be those would be the 2 guys, and then you'd basically say Fasching. I mean, Ilya Sorokin had 2 assists against the Canadiens. Do you want to know how many points Hudson Fasching has this season?
I already know because you told me this, and I was still laughing about it. But please go ahead.
2. Ilya Sorokin had as many points against the Canadiens as Hudson Fasching has this entire season. And God love him. I mean, the guy, he's had a couple of good games. I think he had 5 shots on goal against the Canadiens. That line has been good. I'm not saying anything bad about the way he's been playing lately. It's just the point is, like, the Islanders are doing this with a player who has fewer points than the goalie had in one game, and Fasching has played
31 games.
31 games. Yeah. So that's. I mean, Adam Pelech hasn't scored yet this season.
Fasching has as many points as Grant Hutton, who played 13 games for this team and none since November, I guess. Probably.
Yes. Oh God.
He still has less points than Isaiah George. Isaiah George had 5 points for this team. He had a goal and 4 assists. Fasching has two assists. That's it.
It's incredible. It's but it sounds like we're deriding Hudson Fasching, but really what we're doing is saying, how the hell are they doing this? Because they're playing this guy who has 2 points on the season is playing a massive role for this team that is still in the playoff race. I mean, we talked about Duclair. He's just an absolute husk of himself right now because of being compromised from an injury. Like the Islanders have essentially 5.5 players that would play for each, like the division winner on each team, and those players would not play. I'm saying forwards, because I'm not done yet. All right, let's go to the blue line now. Mike Riley, the 6th defenseman right now seems pretty set in stone until they screw up again. But with Romanov, Pelech, and Riley on one side, Polak, Dobson, and DeAngelo on the other, and you look at this group and you say, once again, 4 out of 6 play for play roles on good teams. DeAngelo and Riley probably don't. You could say that Ryan Polak definitely hasn't been playing like a defenseman who would play on a good team right now either. So it's just the fact that they're doing it despite all this it doesn't make much sense at all. And then you remember that they did this last year and the year before that, and nobody's saying, how the hell is this happening? Like how is this I'm not going to go as far as saying that it's a miracle, a sporting miracle that this team might scrape its way to the 8th seed for the second time in 3 years and make the playoffs by the skin of their teeth 3 out of 3 years. But it's something extremely unlikely, given the circumstances of what the roster looks like, the fact that the penalty kill and power play are still 31st, 32nd in the league.
The penalty kill is up to 31st, I think.
I mean, let's put it this way. If the Islanders were had normal juju, right? If they had normal juju to them, where their penalty kill and their power play, let's say we're 22nd each in the league. Matt Barzal, instead of missing 52 games, misses 32.
Right.
I mean, that's probably right there. That's probably worth 8 points in the standings, and they're just kind of coasting to a 2 versus 3 matchup or whatever, right? But this team isn't, and despite all that, they are fighting, and they've become the feel good Islanders after being the play like asshole Islanders, and yeah, it's just
I mean, they're feel good Islanders if you're paying attention,
right?
But if everybody else, they're like, why are these guys still here? Or they can't possibly make this, can they? And they probably can, and they will do it just despite everybody else.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's like when you have a party and someone shows up with something and it's great. Like the classy thing to do is when you go to someone having a party is you bring something, right?
Yeah.
And like the Islanders are bringing something great to the party, like really good to the party, a great dessert. Everybody eats the dessert, and the party ends. Like the Islanders don't say like, oh, we made that dessert, and everyone leaves and just assumes like the Montreal Canadiens made the dessert. Like that was delicious. Like the Canadiens really brought something great. I think the Blue Jackets helped them with that. They shared the recipe, and the Detroit Red Wings were the ones who brought the great booze, and the Islanders didn't bring anything. They just didn't bring anything, and that's typical. Like that's they're run. What would you expect from a team run by Lou Lamoriello? Of course, they're not going to bring something to your party.
Or the Rangers would get credit.
Yeah.
Bringing whatever.
Well, the party's at the Rangers mansion, so everyone's so excited to be here.
Right. But all right. So we should finish actually with the Calgary game. So like you said, Coronado scores again in the second period. The Islanders were terrible. They were sloppy all over the place. The second period to me is always funny in these games because it's either the Islanders' best period of the game or they just don't show up at all. And then in this case, they just did not show up at all. Coronado was terrific. I was expecting him to get a hat trick in the third period, but it never happened. And then again, a third period comeback. McLean gets Sipakov comes around the net and then sends it to McLean, who ties the game. And it's like, oh my God, Kyle McLean actually did something that's absurd. But of course, in Islanders fashion, very next play, there's a icing, a face-off in the Islanders zone. Jonathan Huberdeau wins a face-off and then gets his own tip in to tie the game 29 seconds later. This is, again, working harder, not smarter. Why do this? Why let up a goal here when you can just not ice the puck and win a face-off or box out Jonathan Huberdeau? Who knows? They go to overtime. Calgary has the puck for the most part, but Pulock, Dobson, Horvat all had chances. Nothing goes. Kadri ends up with it in the Islanders zone. Every Islander on the ice is absolutely dog tired, and he ends up scoring. And it was the exact opposite of the Canadiens game. Like it was a huge point, but you can't really shake the feeling that they could have gotten two had they just done things a little bit smarter. Hogberg wasn't great, but he made 31 saves. He battled. Vladar wasn't really great either. He made 26. It's a big point, but it's a wasted opportunity. And it's just this team can still keep winning. We're going to talk all about the Blue Jackets game on the other side of the break in a few minutes here, but they're going to have to start doing things a little bit differently if they want to, but I just don't expect them to because this is what they've been all season. This is the exact same team that we watched in November and December and October that got no bounces, no breaks. If that play had happened with McLean and Sipakov in November, Sipakov would have gotten like trucked by somebody behind the net, or McLean would have whiffed on it, or it would have went up into the netting or something. Like it's the same exact team. Just now things are happening for them. And the sad thing is, the crazy thing is, enough things might happen that they end up with a playoff spot. That's the thing. Like this team is not good. This is not a good team. They keep doing the same things, making the same mistakes, playing the same sloppy, structureless hockey over and over again, and just beating their head against a wall, trying to make something happen. And now it's happening. Whereas, 2 months ago, it wasn't happening. I mean, they played better in January when they were actually legitimately winning games, and then it fell apart in February. And here they are in March, with no Brock Nelson doing this. So, this was, I felt that there was a lot of connective DNA between these two teams, these two games, even though one was an overtime win and one was an overtime loss. I wasn't mad about the Calgary game, but it was like you could have gotten 2 points, moved 1 point out of a playoff spot, and really set yourself up for a Monday with a huge win over Columbus. But It's not how it works. It's not how these guys do things. It just isn't. They're just gonna keep stepping on rakes until they finally get one that they don't step on, right? Like that's just kind of how they do things.
Yeah, and we have to, right when the Islanders scored that goal by McLean, first thing I did was look up at the clock and be like, oh god, there's just way too much time. Yeah, there's just way too much time left. I almost wanted to just find the Eric Francis, who's like the Calgary Flames version of Luke Fox Jukebox, and be like, hey buddy, I was like, I should just email him and be like, hey man, I'm just emailing you right after the Islanders scored, and just to tell you the Flames are going to score before the end of regulation. I can guarantee you that. Because that's just how things go with this, as you said, like this is just how things go with this team. And I don't even know if you could be mad about the way that goal was scored.
Yeah.
Romanov had Huberdeau in front of that, like he had his body on him, and it was just an insane tip. And we talk about hockey gods and bounces all the time, but at some point you can give credit to the other player, and I think he deserves credit on that goal. Unfortunately, it came at a back-breaking time, and then the overtime was I wasn't thrilled with the way the Islanders went about that at all, because the first shift, like Noah Dobson just kind of flutters one at Vladar's pad, and
again the two defensemen thing is so funny to me. Like they have to be the only team in the NHL doing
it.
Yeah.
It's got to be. But once again, this is another thing that if the Toronto Maple Leafs start overtime with two defensemen, or they go three forwards or something like that, it's so much ink is spilled about it, and oxygen is wasted on it, and but the Islanders do it, and it's just it's nobody even picks up on the fact that the Islanders are so thin at forward that they have to start their three best options in overtime are Bo Horvat and two defensemen, and that team that is so thin at forward that they have to start Bo Horvat and two defensemen to start overtime is 2 points out of a playoff spot, despite being that thin at forward basically the entire season somehow. And they've had to play 13 defensemen or whatever it is. Yes, that team is still in the playoff race, and it's a very, very compelling. I'm not even gonna say it's a good story, or I should stop saying feel good story. It's a very compelling story. It's the type of thing that makes sports great. But to everyone else, it's just, this is just annoying, and just, can we just stop it? But the most frustrating thing about this day, because I thought, what, they weren't going to win every game. They got a point out of it. Even if they had won that game, like this game against Columbus still is a must win. It kind of just didn't. Of course, it changes the calculus and the math and their chances of qualifying for the playoffs a little bit, but it didn't really impact it that much with the way the results shook out with the Canadiens, because the Islanders have the tiebreaker over Montreal right now. So if they're essentially, they're 2 points back of Montreal, and if they finish tied, at least right now, they're one regulation win ahead of them. They're
we should say that the Habs actually lost in overtime on Saturday night to the Avalanche.
Right,
had a big lead.
They were down
that too.
Yeah. So, but that was what I was gonna say. Like the kind of annoying thing about this game wasn't that the Islanders only got a point, but what had happened before the Islanders game and after the Islanders game. So the Rangers, who have been trying their best, the Islanders are trying. They're trying to extract blood from a stone to stay in the playoff race to get the 8th playoff spot. They are cutting down trees. They're pushing. This is very Sisyphus style, pushing a boulder up a hill. The Rangers, meanwhile, are just not trying at all, and are just if they get there, it's just going to be by accident. They've been held to under 14 shots 2 out of their last 3 games. They shot 42% from the field against the Canucks on Saturday afternoon. 42%. The St. John shot 28. So the Rangers scored 5 goals on 12 shots against the Canucks in a win where they were outshot 39-12 just hours before the Islanders basically fainted from exhaustion against the Flames and made it on. And then right afterwards, of course, the Avalanche are just running the Canadiens out of the building. They're 4-1, and they blow it and let the Canadiens get a point before Brock Nelson wins it in a shootout for maybe his biggest goal for the Islanders all season, which is crazy. But so that was the annoying part, right? Because you get 3 points out of 4, or excuse me, you get 5 points out of 6 this week. Any one of us would have signed up for that, especially with the fact that they got 2 of those points came against the Canadians. But it was the other stuff that happened. But now it's just you have two more games at home during this homestand against the Blue Jackets and Canucks, and you just got to make those ones count. Because if the Islanders said they were pissed off that they lost the second point, but I feel like every time they've said stuff like that this season, they're like, oh, we just got to regroup or whatever, gather. They just do the opposite. So that made me more nervous than anything.
Yeah. We'll talk about the Blue Jackets game in a minute out on the other side of the break. But so speaking of coverage that is getting lost in the shuffle, at some point, somebody's going to have to reckon with the idea that the Rangers, who were one of the best teams in the NHL for the first 2 months of the season, immediately went into open revolt against their coach and general manager and are now fighting for the same playoff berth that the Islanders, who have been beset by injuries and absolutely stupid play all season long, are also fighting for. So I would like somebody to be like, how did these guys get here again? Like, I just don't. No, that's okay. They're the Rangers. They're fighting for a playoff spot. Isn't this great?
Yeah,
what?
No quit. And the Rangers, they're just, they're doing their best. They were buying and selling at the trade deadline in this new wave way of being a GM. Their GM is ruthless, and
they were going to get JJ Peterka. Remember? The Sabres are going to trade JJ Peterka to the Rangers. But anyway, the other thing I want to say while we wrap up these two games is I keep saying structureless. I've had my say about Patrick Roy. I don't know what the Islanders' game plan is. I do find it funny that the only 2 strategies that we know of for sure that Patrick Roy likes, one is pulling your goalie with like 12 minutes left in the game, and the other is playing 2 defensemen and 1 forward in overtime, which are both completely insane. I just want to point that these are the only 2 things that we know about this guy from a coaching standpoint. Everything else is just sort of like, go out there and play, which is a little bit annoying. Okay, we went long this first half. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the games coming up this week, which are also pretty huge, and get into maybe some of the other playoff races around. And we're going to talk about the newest Islander from the NCAA ranks, which is very exciting. So come back and meet us on the other side. Thanks. And now a word from our sponsors. First is always VintageIceHockey.com, where you can get t-shirts, hoodies, jerseys, and more featuring over 100 classic hockey logos. Vintage Ice Hockey now carries a full line of Islanders Anxiety merch featuring our blue and orange brain logo, as well as our Al Arbor and the Island shirts. And as always, our portion of the sales go directly to the Center for Dementia Research. That is VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. They offer a Rosé, a Pinot Grigio, and a Pinot Noir that was named a Top 100 Best Buy by Wine Enthusiast magazine. All are delicious, priced at less than $15 a bottle, and available at local wine shops and at UBS Arena. Learn more at thepinotproject.com. Please drink responsibly.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader. Like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
You're probably listening to this on Monday. The Islanders have a huge game tonight at UBS Arena, 7:30 against the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are basically competing for the same exact playoff spot that they are. Columbus was in that spot for a little while. A couple weeks ago, they have fallen on very, very hard times. All of a sudden, they cannot buy a goal. They can't buy a win. They are a real true feel-good story. Here we are talking about the Islanders being a bit of a feel-good story. These guys are truly a feel-good story after the tragedy that they experienced over the summer with Johnny Gaudreau. But now it seems like that story may or may not have come to an end. The Islanders can't think about that right now. If they want these 2 points, they got to go out and get them. And again, this team is down right now, so no time like the present. But that's not it. They have a game on Wednesday, also at UBS Arena, against the Vancouver Canucks, who basically ran the Rangers out of MSG this weekend, still lost. These guys also have no luck whatsoever. I hope Bo Horvat is ready for this incoming throng of Vancouver reporters who are just can't wait to ask him about JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, I'm sure. And then they have a back-to-back on the weekend, 2:00 in Tampa on Saturday, and then 5:00 in Carolina on Sunday. We will record after that game. So there will be a regular episode on Monday as usual, but it's going to be recorded after the Hurricanes game, which is at 5:00 on Sunday. With all due respect to the Canucks, Lightning, and Hurricanes, this Columbus game is really the ball game here. Like, if they can get 2 points out of this and maybe get some luck on the scoreboard, they might pull even for that final playoff spot. I don't know what the tiebreakers are. Like Mike said, maybe they'll jump ahead. If they lose, Columbus could jump them, or at least tie them, I should say, at 73 points. The other ones aren't going to be easy. The Lightning are just as good as they've ever been. The Hurricanes are just as good as, almost as good as they've been. And the Canucks are kind of almost like the Islanders. Like, you never really know what you're going to get from those guys. Hopefully, I always hope when these West Coast teams come out here on long road trips, they're kind of dog tired by the time they play the Islanders, but it never really works out that way. But I think we'll know how the rest of the week is going to go by the time this Columbus game is over. Because if they lose, all of a sudden this whole run seems to have skidded to a halt, although there will still be 12 games left after that, and they could make us all look pretty foolish. But the vibes will definitely be pretty bad if they lose this Columbus game. What do you think going in to this one? Again, the Blue Jackets and Islanders have almost the same exact record, just 73, 71 points. Islanders minus 15 in the goal differential, Columbus minus 9, both with 69 games played. But right now, Columbus, man, they can't get a goal to save their lives, and it's rough. It's a rough time to go through a dry spell like that. But that could be the Islanders' game, and they could take advantage of that. Although this team does not like to take advantage of stuff very often, so I'm bracing for the worst, but I'm hoping for the best. Where are you at?
Same, yeah. It's I've just given up on trying to figure out what to expect from the Islanders or anything, and I just know I'll be dog nervous for this game.
Yes.
When it starts, and if they win, happy days, and but at the same time, the worst part about this is if they win, happy days, season stays alive, but it just means that the season stays alive for 2 more days until they play the Canucks on Wednesday, right? It's not like we're still so far away from feeling any bit of comfortability. The thing with this game, though, with the Blue Jackets is it's not, I wouldn't say it's an elimination game for the Islanders, but it probably is an elimination game for the Blue Jackets. The Islanders, the Islanders win in regulation. That puts them on 75 points with the Canadiens. Same games played with the Blue Jackets, and Columbus is then two games back of these teams, and the Islanders have the tiebreaker on Columbus by a few games or 3 games if they win in regulation. And so in a weird way, it's like it's one of those games where it's not an eliminator for the Islanders, but it is for the Blue Jackets. And what's the way that this week shapes up is really interesting because, as you said, right, you got two very gettable opponents at home. I think the Canucks, that's the last game of this crazy road trip they're on, or maybe it's like the second to last game. If they lose to New Jersey, like their season could basically be over. They play New Jersey on Monday.
They're currently 5 points out, Vancouver, with 76 points. So again, very similar record to the Islanders. You never know what you're going to get from day to day, but yeah, they're 5 points out right now. So yeah, so if they lose on Monday to the Devils, that might be the ball game for them too.
Yeah. And like they're kind of just like licking their wounds and stuff, but at the same time, it doesn't matter. Like I was saying to somebody, I was like, Columbus, Vancouver, those are winnable games, but Columbus and Vancouver are coming into the Islanders being like, yep, Islanders, winnable game. So it's true. It's really, hoping you get the bounces, and Sorokin continues to play really well. Haven't really mentioned him, but he's been awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's even getting enough credit for not just like this stretch, but the fact that he's played so much for so long, and it's just been really steady for the entire, January, February, March spell of the season for the Islanders. So good on Ilya. But yeah, so like you get these two winnable games to start, and then you got the 2 tough ones in a back-to-back to end the week, and in Tampa, in Carolina, and then it's Tampa again, and then Minnesota, Washington. So like you it's right. So it's not, you have to win these games, not just because you got to win them, but also because of what's to come. Those are the 5, that 5-game stretch is the kind of last really tough stretch of the season for the Islanders in terms of like opponents. Who knows, maybe like Washington is kind of in set it and forget it mode because they've clinched everything, and they're just trying to set up Ovechkin, and you can catch them on an off night. The Islanders never beat the Wild, so who knows? But it's just. But point being, you gotta win these games because of what's to come. Yeah. But you look at now you got to remember that the Islanders schedule isn't all that matters. This is a huge opportunity for them because the Canadian schedule stiffens up really tight right now. They're on a 4-game road trip starting Tuesday against the Blues, who are red hot. So they go St. Louis, Philadelphia, who, the Flyers stink, but whatever. But it's a back-to-back Philadelphia, Carolina. And then they play Florida in a 3-4, Philly, Carolina, Florida. And then they play Florida again. So you'd expect, if Montreal can get through that gauntlet, mini gauntlet, and continue to pace the playoff race, kind of tip your cap.
Right.
So you hope that the Islanders pick up points to get some separation if Montreal drops points. And then you look at the Rangers schedule. For the 8th time this season, the Rangers are going out west to play the Sharks. I feel like they play the Sharks every other week.
What?
Yeah, they're going on their little California swing here.
The Sharks, by the way, who have already been eliminated. Forget about clinching anything. The Sharks and Blackhawks have been completely eliminated from playoff contention. Shocking.
Yeah, but that's why you want to rebuild. You want to get that stuff out of the way, right? You want to tear it down and be done with the season by Halloween. But yeah, the Rangers go out California swing, but they do start with the Kings. If the Kings could take care of business, that would obviously be really helpful. So this is like the annoying part, is that the Islanders, it's annoying, but it's also good at the same time, is that the Islanders and Canadians are playing parallel to not parallel to one another. They're playing every other day. Like the Islanders are Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think the Habs are Tuesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, or whatever it is. So it's you're gonna have an Islander game every night, even if the Islanders aren't playing, is what I'm trying to say. So but yeah, we are in the same exact spot that we were at last season at Game 70, and we're at the same exact spot that we were at 2 seasons ago in Game 70 as well. It's just that you think we're kidding. People think you kid around when you say this is the Game 307 of the 2021, 22, 22, 23 season, going on.
Right.
But when you look at the Islanders, so Game 70 last season was the game against Winnipeg, when they had the back-to-back Winnipeg, then New Jersey.
Right.
So like same exact spot. They were fighting tooth and nail to stay in the playoff spot. They had a rousing win, then a deflating loss, and then they ended up saving themselves. And Game 70 2 seasons ago was actually their West Coast swing, when they started to kind of resuscitate themselves. They beat the Ducks and they won 3 in a row because they beat
Right.
the Ducks and they beat the Sharks, and then do you remember they beat the brakes off of the Maple Leafs?
Yes.
That one game 7-2.
Yeah.
and then they had that demoralizing overtime loss against the Blue Jackets.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah, where they like gave up a goal late and then lost in overtime. Then they lost to the Sabres in a dreadful 2-0 game where Kyle Okposo scored the game winner. It was 0-0 forever, that game, and then Okposo scored, and you're just like, this sucks. So your season's over, and then they ended up going 4-1 down the stretch or whatever.
And it has to have been the same as the season before too, because that was the Peter Mrazek, beating the Penguins to get the Islanders in the playoffs.
No, that was this season. That was because that was this season that where the Islanders they lost that game to the Sabres and they won 2 in a row, then they lost 2 in a row, and then they beat the Lightning and Flyers in very compelling wins, and all they had to do was beat Washington. And now that's the famous game where they were down 3-0 in like 90 seconds. And then Mrazek and Buddy Robinson. So like that's the thing, right? Like there's going to be a Peter Mrazek, Buddy Robinson moment in the season still. There's only 13 games left or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's 12 after the Columbus game.
Yeah, and that's so much time for Peter Mrazek to pop. Who's going to be this season's Peter Mrazek, right? Like who's going to be? Where's Buddy Robinson right now? Remember they played the Blue Jackets last season, and Jet Greaves had Jet Greaves stood on his head forever, and we're like, who the hell is this guy? Like there's still characters to the story that we haven't even freaking heard of. And that's the worst part. Like, who the hell who's going to just pop up out of the woodwork and be Jet Greaves or Buddy Robinson, Peter Mrazek, and either get the Islanders in or keep them out.
Yeah. I think you're 100% right now that I think about it is, Monday isn't really a make or break for the Islanders, but it might be for the Blue Jackets. That being said, this back-to-back Tampa, Carolina might very well be the make or break.
Right.
The Islanders.
Well, you have to make sure that back to back isn't a make or break. Like you have to have had, you have to,
and if you win one of those, that's great. Like if you go into Tampa, you empty the tanks, you walk out of there with 2 points, and you lose to Carolina. Well, okay, that's fine. Like we understand that, but that's not going to be easy. I mean, neither of these is going to be easy. I could probably see them losing to Tampa and then winning in Carolina because they seem to have finally figured out the Hurricanes a little bit, but. Either way, it's rough. But again, that presupposes that they win against Columbus and Vancouver, which are 2 winnable games. I mean, the Canucks are very much like the Islanders. You have no idea what you're going to get. They're the team that, is driving their fans crazy because they're so focused on keeping the puck out of the net. They've forgotten how to score goals, and then they give up a bunch of goals, and then they lose, and so they don't know what's going on out there. And, again, traded one of their better players not long ago. So they were killing the Rangers, killing them. And I think the Rangers had 6 shots on goal and a 2-1 lead, and they ended up winning, whatever it was, 5-3, and they had 19 shots for the game, and the Canucks had 20 or 50 or whatever it was. So, I don't think they want that to happen, but they are also, just hanging around, and they need those 2 points. Both of these teams need these 2 points desperately. So the Islanders need to understand that they can't come out sleeping in the first 5 minutes of the game or what they normally do, which is come out energetic in the first 5 minutes, then go to sleep for the next 10 minutes, and then the other team takes a 2-1 lead or a 3-2 lead or whatever it is, and then they got to fight their way back. So, again, working a little bit smarter might be helpful here, but they have yet to do that in 69 previous games this season, or really the 82 previously last year and the 82 before that. So, I'm not holding my breath, but it's going to be a wild one, and then we'll be back, like I said, next Sunday to talk after that Hurricanes game. I don't know if we want to get into the rest of the playoff races, but it's really in the West. Things are very much set up. I mean, the Flames got those 2 points against the Islanders, but unfortunately they're still 4 points behind St. Louis, who have just charged up the rankings here. And I don't know if things might be a little bit set there. Like I said, Vancouver's 5 points back. Utah is 6 points back, although they have the best goal differential of all these. And then Anaheim, Seattle, Nashville. Nashville, by the way, did everybody a favor by beating the Leafs. I can't wait to listen to those podcasts tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. They beat the Leafs on Saturday after the Leafs took a 2-0 lead. It was great. And then, like I said, Chicago and San Jose are both eliminated. They might be done here. This might be the Western Conference field, and it's all going to come down to those top teams: Winnipeg, Dallas, Colorado, Vegas, and Edmonton. And that's really what it comes down to. In Edmonton, I don't know. They still never scare me. They went to the Cup final last year and they still didn't scare me because I don't like their goaltending and I don't like their depth, but that's just me. Who knows? Any quick words on the Western Conference playoffs before we move on to the newest Islander, who they signed this week?
No, I've got really no ill will towards the Blues. Our feeder club. Thank you for Bortuzzo and Brunovic, and Nick Leddy's there, so good for him.
Right.
Got no
future
ill will.
Islander Jordan Kyrou.
There was a lot of former future Islanders all over the place this week with Kadri and scoring that goal, and then of course former future Islander who's going to resign July 1st, Brock Nelson, and who's actually a former Islander, former Islander. I don't know. But yeah, I got no ill will towards. I mean, I don't really like Minnesota much for various reasons, and I don't like Utah because of their owner. So I'm kind of just hoping that it's St. Louis, Calgary get in, one of those two. But yeah, as you said, that it looks the West. I don't know. The West is it's just such a different.
I know.
It's the East and the West are just so different. It's bizarre how that could happen.
Especially when you watch these guys.
Right.
I mean, the Islanders.
Maybe it's just the Islanders. Yeah. Maybe it's just like if you just like plunked the Islanders in the Western Conference and you made them show up to play Dallas 4 times a year or be a rival with Los Angeles Kings, they'd just be like, what the hell are these guys doing?
Yeah.
They're talking in tongues.
Yeah, it's I don't know. We're too far down the rabbit hole right now, but it definitely deserves some sort of investigation. That and what the hell's going on down in Bridgeport both deserve like deep dives. Like, why do the Islanders play in a way that nobody else in the NHL plays? And it used to be that they were focused on defense and it was very good and it worked for them for the most part, particularly in the playoffs. Now it's just like, what are these guys doing out here? And then the whole Bridgeport situation is like, what is going on down there? They're just absolutely terrible. But that's a perfect segue because help might be on the way. The NCAA signing period is upon us. You might see some teams signing these dudes. Of course, the Leafs got some highly touted defensemen, blah, 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 all these points. Of course they did, because why you would sign with these guys? I don't know. I guess for a defenseman, maybe you'll play. But the Islanders kind of surprisingly jumped in on this and got a guy who actually is fairly highly touted. His name is Gleb Veremyev, and he played at Colorado College and until recently because he just signed a deal with the Islanders. He's a guy who doesn't have points that jump off the board. 52 points in 88 games over 3 seasons with the Colorado College Tigers, which isn't bad. But mainly what this guy brings is size. He's 6'4", 214. He's a big boy. And a real kind of determination. And, he's got high IQ. He's tenacious. He's good on faceoffs, apparently. And if you're thinking, wow, Dan, you really have done a lot of research. You know about this guy. I have absolutely no idea I couldn't tell this guy from a hole in the wall. Honestly, this is all the stuff that I've read. And like all of a sudden, like, oh, they signed this guy. And now this is kind of what I know about. He is from Sayreville in New Jersey, which is only maybe 10 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. And I'm just glad that, the Islanders got some guy from the NCAA. I've been shouting about this for God knows how long. Do all these guys work out? No. Jimmy Vesey was supposed to be a superstar. The Islanders apparently flirted with him for a while. And of course he's like a former Ranger, current Ranger, who the hell knows anymore. And not, these guys don't all work out, but my thing with getting back to Bridgeport real quick is that, like, I get that the Islanders trade their first round picks. They wanted guys like Palmieri and Peugeot and Romanov. And I get that. And I understand that. And I'm with that. Those guys have been very good. But if you're going to do that, you got to find new players in more creative ways. And for whatever reason, I feel like they have not really kind of tapped into the NCAA free agent market as much as they should have, if at all, really. They haven't really signed too many guys lately, but hopefully Veremyev works out. When I see the name Gleb, all I hear is Tom Cruise in my head yelling at Matt Lauer saying, you're Gleb. It's not Glib, it's Gleb. And we'll see. I mean, he's a big guy. So, he's got an opportunity now. I guess he's going to go down to Bridgeport. and make something out of whatever few games they have left here in the regular season, because they are as far out of the playoffs as you can get. But yeah, this is exciting. It's exciting to get a guy. And of course, if you've been around long enough, you remember the names like Kevin Churchman, Jack Hillen, Matt Donovan, these types of guys who, weren't bad. They played for the Islanders and worked out, but didn't end up becoming superstars or anything. So I don't know. What was your take on the Gleb Veremyev signing? And I don't know, what are your thoughts on these kinds of guys? Again, Jimmy Vesey is sort of the poster child for this, the guy who was expected a lot of, and just it's been okay, I guess, but not nearly what people kind of thought he was going to be.
Well, I'm happy you mentioned Jack Hillen.
Favorite of yours.
Yeah, he is also.
This guy is taller than Jack Hillen.
And
Jack Hillen was a little guy.
They went to the same school.
Oh, there you go.
Colorado College. Maybe it's just the pipeline,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we usually, we make fun of it all the time, like teams being like, fans being like, I can't believe we missed out on Gleb and stuff like that. But at the same time, you just don't know. Like, you have no idea how this guy's going to do. All reports sound like he looks like a pretty good player. And I did enjoy that John Buccigross in December said this guy's signing with the Bruins. Like he just very matter of factly.
Right.
And just to have him go to the Islanders. But and as you said, like the Islanders don't have a good farm system right now. Just like from top to bottom, it's you just said it, deserves some sort of deep dive. I don't know what the hell you have to do to figure out what's going on there. If like you got to tap Katie Strang to get involved, I have no idea. Like you need to get like the whoever the best reporter is in Sports Reporter. It's like a Jeremy Schaap feature almost.
Yeah.
Jeremy Schaap, I think, was an Islander fan growing up, right? So
was
maybe I don't know. I feel like he was.
Let's get
so
on
maybe
Weird Islanders.
Yeah.
Find out.
Yeah. He'll come on to and he'll give us the full report, interviewing Mark Watton in like a dimly lit room. Except Mark Watton will have his face blurred out and his voice changed because he can't be he wants to keep his anonymity because of Lou. But yeah, as you said, like you gotta get creative if you're not bringing players along. The Islanders have now added this guy Gleb Veremyev, Cal Ritchie, and Cole Yzerman within a calendar year, and they also brought in Max Siplikov from Russia, right? And they're supposed to be in on that guy Shabanov. I remember the KHL guy who's having a big year over there as well, because this is part of the overlooked impact that Lou Lamoriello has, is that these players are represented by agents who will advise them to, hey, you might want to listen to what this guy has to say. Right. He was the first guy to hire Rick Pitino. He has been in the NHL for 40 something years. He runs a really good organization. Maybe you don't stick with the Islanders, but you'll learn how to be a professional player in the NHL and know what it takes and what to do and what not to do during your time with the Islanders. And there's probably no other GM who can set you, at least give you the foundation for success,
right,
better than this guy, even if he's derided at every corner by every new age NHL hockey writer. And but agents know what they're talking about, and I think that's why you're seeing stuff like this happen with the Islanders and them get guys like Siplikov and win these. They might not win free agent bidding wars in with NHL players. Like they're not. Yes, we're going to sign Mitch Marner until he signs somewhere else. He's an Islander on July 1st, but like they're not going to be in on the prize free agents just because they don't have the they're the Islanders, right? But these kind of players where it's 50-50 if they play an NHL game or not, there's a lot of attraction to coming here because Lou's going to be honest with you. He's going to be like, yeah, he said when they signed Siplikov, like he's not here to play in Bridgeport. If he shows up and does what he's supposed to, he's going to make the team. He's done that. It seems like by all accounts, even with like the scratches here and there, he's kind of fully understanding of like how this process is going, and which is good. And I'm sure that this situation with Gleb Veremyev was similar. It's just, look, dude, like if you want to go somewhere where like Chicago or San Jose or Boston or something, go right ahead. But if you want to find out like what it's what it's going to take and get like actual like look you in the eye honest feedback from someone, that'll pay off down the road, and it's like a very mature place to be. So I think that stuff really matters, and it's just what it gets overlooked. So I'm excited that they got this guy. I mean, and this is not to beat a dead horse, right? Like we've said so many times over the years that the last thing that this team can afford to do is just rip everything down and try to rebuild for the 18th time in my lifetime. Because what winning does, and I know the Islanders haven't won. I'm not saying that they've won anything, but they've had a period of success here where they are making the playoffs all but 1 year since Lamoriello came in. What that does is it buys you time to actually stock the cupboards in these kind of ways with trades, with finding gold, like in later in the first round, like Yzerman. It allows you patience to develop players, like someone like Simon Holmstrom. You don't have to rush him through because the team's good enough, and you don't need someone like that to contribute. So like to sound like Lou, like they had time, they just need to use it. And it seems like just filling in a couple holes here and there has completely changed what the future looks like for the Islanders, because now they've got Barzal and Horvat in their prime. They'll be around for a while. Yeah. Dobson, Romanov, they're in their prime. They're going to be around for a while. They've got the goalie, and now they're filling in the future holes with Richie and Yzerman, and now this Gleb guy, hopefully, and they're bringing in Isaiah George looks like he's a player, right? So like there was no reason to ever panic about the farm system, despite it being ranked 33rd out of 32 teams. It doesn't, because that's not how you win the Stanley Cup. You don't win the Stanley Cup by having the best farm system. And you win the Stanley Cup by winning the Stanley Cup. And so I that stuff always made me really mad. And now I wonder if those prospect grifters and rankers are just going to be like, maybe the Islanders showed us a different way to like build up a system, rather than just by collecting draft capital and a bunch of lottery tickets. You can just sign players or trade for players, or draft well or something. But that's not going to be the case.
Well, yeah, because like just in the last 2 weeks, I mean, it's not just about Veremyev. Sorry, that is apparently the pronunciation, Veremyev. But yeah, they just added Richie a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
and
a first round pick.
Yzerman. First round pick, and they added Yzerman at the draft, and Kirill Bednarik too is another one. So like these guys are, they're pretty highly thought of. Yeah. And again, Isaiah George. Don't forget Simon Holmstrom is like 24 years old.
Yeah, he was the youngest player in his draft year, or something.
And he was the youngest player in the AHL for a long time. And then
you've got Danny Nelson, who looks like a player, right?
Finley,
It was never it was never a reason to panic, and it was just impossible to say that and sound coherent, because everybody else was saying, the people who were paid to make these lists would make them and put the Islanders at the bottom. But it's like, but that's not the context here. The context is the Islanders are a contending team, so they don't need this right now.
Yeah, right.
They have time to like accrue good players other ways. So.
Yeah. Do I wish they had done it a little bit faster? Yeah. Do I wish they didn't have an AHL team that was like scraping the bottom of the Long Island Sound? Yes, I do. But no, you're right. Like things can change.
That's the hard part. It's like there's no guarantee, because like we woke up the night before that night before that they signed Gleb Veremyev. I didn't know what Gleb Veremyev was, and exactly. nobody did. I mean, people are like, "Oh, this is a huge deal for the Islanders." Like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, the last time I heard the names, the two words put together, Colorado College, was literally when the Islanders signed Jack Hillen.
I didn't know what their uniforms are. They've got a very Cincinnati Stingers, like WHA kind of look about them. So I like it. But Gleb, welcome aboard. good luck in Bridgeport, and we'll see you prospect camp, pal. It should be a lot of fun. But yeah, slowly but surely, the Islanders are picking up some younger guys for a new generation, and they're going to need it. And just my again, I don't want to go off on the whole thing, and somebody really does. I'm not even kidding. Maybe it'll be us. I don't know. We'll see. Somebody really needs to investigate what the hell's going on over at Webster Bank Arena. It's not Webster Bank Arena anymore, but whatever's going on at the Bridgeport Arena, because I think our biggest fear for all of these guys is that they go to Bridgeport and it's just more losing on top of losing, and it just doesn't help at all. And I think Isaiah George has been all right. Oh, I forgot. What's the guy? Marshall Warren is another guy who signed with the Islanders after leaving Michigan. Wanted to, the guy, I grew up an Islanders fan. He was hurt for a lot of this season, but from what I understand, he when he plays, he's been okay. So he might have a future here as well. So we'll see. But I just don't want these guys to get kind of stuck in the mud over in Bridgeport. And hopefully, again, they can, maybe next year those guys all have a great season and they all kind of come together. Alex Jeffries is still there, although he hasn't really done a ton this year. Has looked okay at times. Maggio, who knows what's going to happen with him anymore, but we'll see. But anyway, again, maybe this is happening now, and they could use some of these draft picks to pick up some more, because they still have them. Their own pick. They didn't trade their first round pick this year for something else. So we'll see. Maybe we'll see a James Higgins in their future, but that's all going to depend on these last 13 games starting Monday night against Columbus. We'll be back next Sunday after the Hurricanes game to discuss all 4 of these games. So be ready. We could be in a much better mood, or we could be in a much worse mood. We'll see what happens. But until then, reminder to head over to patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety for ad-free episodes, bonus content, written posts, and a whole lot more. And again, you get all of that this week. So if you want to hear this episode without ads and you want to get bonus podcasts, we're doing our Country Club Atmosphere this week, and it's all about Top Chef, one of our favorite shows. Go to patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety. We'll also have one of my 10-game thoughts posts and a new edition of Dan's Islanders Book Club, which I'll spoil for everybody, is about the book Hapless Islanders, which we talked at length about with its author, Greg Prado, on our last episode of Weird Islanders, a podcast. It's about a guy named Arnie Brown. And if you don't know who Arnie Brown is, don't worry, because we didn't either. And we'll explain all why he is kind of an important figure in Islanders history, because he kind of set the stage for all the guys who didn't want to play for the Islanders years later, and was a very colorful character in the inaugural 72-73 season, amongst a bunch of other colorful characters. Prado was a lot of fun. He's also a rock and roll history writer. He's got a book coming out on Quiet Riot, for God's sakes. And he wrote one of the greatest Islanders books of all time in Dynasty. So we had a great time. Go back and listen to it. It was a lot of fun. Also, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, all those places. Leave us a review where you can. Our theme song is Morning Haze by Family Dinner. Listen to more of their music on Spotify. Look out for their record, God Looks Out for Fools. Read Lighthouse Hockey every single day for your most up-to-date Islanders news and discussion. Islanders Anxiety Podcasts are part of the Fans First Sports Network. Shop VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. Mike, where can everybody find you on Twitter?
The Big Lebowski with 2 E's.
Follow Mike at the Big Lebowski. We have talked a lot. It's been a weird time somehow, and you said it over an hour and a half ago. The Islanders cannot be killed. They are still here. They are like a bug or a rodent or a vermin that simply won't go away. And let's keep it going, basically, is all I can say. At this point, you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. And think about it this way. The longer these guys hang around, the more mad it makes everybody else. Would you say that is easily a huge feature of this little run that they've gone on that has brought them 2 points within a playoff spot?
I couldn't have said it better. It's a great way to end it, because I mean, it's this. You think every episode you think you're going to run out of words to say,
right?
Or at least the next week you'll be like, well, what are we going to talk about, or how are we going to talk about it? That's going to be different. But you watch this team play 8 minutes of a game, and you're just like, I just saw shit that I feel like I'm seeing ghosts. So who knows? And as we said, there's still a lot of time left here for the Peter Mrazek's and Buddy Robinsons and Chet Greaveses and all sorts of characters to pop up. So
exactly,
Sam Bolduc, etc.
Or dare I say, a Wade Dublowitz.
Or
Who will
Wade
be
Dublowitz,
the new Wade Dublowitz, or the Sergei Brylin of that, of the other side of that story. So we shall see. But we'll start with this week, and we'll be back on Sunday to talk it all out. Okay, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you soon. And head over to the Patreon for tons and tons more stuff this week. All right, take care. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
for